Hey everybody, welcome to my video today. This is all changing from word of the day to quote of the week. And I wrote down some quotes because what's on my mind is identity. The reason identity is the topic today is because, so I have an email list, a studio updates email list. I sent an email yesterday that it took me a few days to write. In the email, I describe what's been going on for the past year, specifically with my print-on-demand content and Etsy content, how that has shifted and changed for me, and how my YouTube channel has shifted and changed for me. And I talked about the crazy road that I went down last year with the mental hurdles of changing my content topics and why I decided to move in that direction. It was kind of a hard email to write. It's weird to send stuff like that because do they care? You know what I mean? Anyway, today we are using these Edding brush lettering starter set pens. Folks at Edding sent me these pens just to try out. I did not pay for these. This is also not sponsored content. I'm doing a real review of these, or I'm not gonna like sugarcoat anything about it, but it was really kind of them to send them. They saw some of the other content that I had posted using Edding markers, and they were kind enough to ask me if I would like to try these out, and I said sure, as long as you don't mind if I give honest feedback and review on them. So what I want to do is I'm going to do a background first with these markers, and then I'm going to add some water, and then I'm going to put some of my paint, my white paint over it. And I'm going to do this quote: when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Because this one is really resonating with me right now. I'm using the Rendr Sketchbook, which I have been using a lot lately in these videos, and so we're just going to go with it. And I thought that these pens might do well on the Rendr, as they were not doing so well on my mushroom sketchbook, which is the art creation sketchbook. So I just wanted to see how they would do on this sketchbook. So I just sent out an email all about the past year, 2022, pretty much focused on class content and content that I had put out, and how I sort of lost the vibe for doing more general P.O.D. content. I think I've talked to you guys about this before. I will link the word of the day video where I discuss this, and I'm also going to link the email that I sent so you can read it, because it's really just the entire story is in there. My whole thought process on it. I'm really glad I sent it, because sometimes it's really hard for me to send emails like that. I mean, it probably is for a lot of people. It's not always easy to feel like, first of all, you know, you want to put stuff in your email that is useful to other people or that other people want to hear about. You know, you don't want to waste people's time. Hold on, I'm going to blow dry. So I wrote this email, and I explained my headspace with the print-on-demand content I was putting out, specifically a class I did, which I'm very proud of. It's an excellent course. It's on Skillshare, but it kind of set me into a direction with print-on-demand content that I was not altogether comfortable going in, and I realized it after the fact. So then I took some time. What I'm trying to get to is I've had a lot of really great conversations on email, one-on-one, with subscribers to my email list. They responded to my email, and we've had some back and forth, and they've told me about their situations, and you know, it's just sort of brought up a lot of feelings about how your creative career shifts and changes, and how identities change. You know, my identity has changed a whole bunch of times. Not my identity like who I am, but how I see myself in the larger community of artists and in my career and who I identify as a working artist. I think artists in general might have like more careers than many people do, because we move into these different lanes depending on like how our careers move and shift. It's sometimes not easy, maybe more than sometimes, not easy for people. You know, not easy for us to make those transitions sometimes. Like sometimes they're welcome and sometimes you're eager to make it, and then you're afraid of how it's gonna impact your business or your identity, your public facing identity, even though, you know, you're fine with it internally and you're looking forward to that change, or you've already made a shift internally. And then other times it's kind of the opposite. Like things are changing and you're not really, you know, you're conflicted about it. Or, you know, some combination of the two. It is an interesting conversation. Ooh, I'm making some real mud here. This is lovely. You know, I'm a part of, you know, several different communities on the internet, artist communities, you know, different niches. And, you know, that's because I've lived in each one of them at different times. All of that feeds into your own identity and how you see yourself, you know, how you perceive yourself, and then how you express who you are outwardly. I just want to talk about this paper for a minute. This is the Rendr paper. I think it is more similar to Yupo than it is to paper, like paper pulp paper, if you catch my drift. If I find any information on the internet about this paper, I will for sure. Oh, look at that one. It's all bent up. I would like to know a little bit more about it. All right, we're going to go in with some paint. I want to do some layering. And my paint here is like almost gone. But we want to go for a ethereal, sciencey looking background. If you remember P.O.D, which was, I think they still exist, but they were the big music publisher company that I used to, back in the 90s, let me age myself, back in the 90s, big P.O.D fan. I mean the Cocteau Twins, you know? My old faves, the Cocteau Twins. They were on P.O.D and all their record covers looked kind of like this. So, yeah. It is interesting because, like, everybody goes through it pretty much. Even if you stay in one niche, you're still going to evolve and change. You know, your attitude's going to change. Your business is going to change in some way. You know, maybe you didn't have an agent and then you got an agent and then you moved from your agent or something. Like, these are all, that's, you know, a big shift for people too, you know? So, even if you do stay in one, you know, pocket of, I'll say commercial illustration for lack of a better word, you know, you're going to shift and change. Maybe you started out doing, you know, maybe you started out doing licensing and then you ended up, not ended up, because it's never really an end, right? And then you know, went into mural painting or something like that, you know, or maybe a different type of business altogether. So we're all like works in progress, and we're all constantly changing, and I don't really have I don't really have like a moral to the story or anything. This is just like an ongoing conversation, and it's just something that is important to talk about because I don't think it's talked about very much. You know, not all the time. And I think it's an emotional topic for people. And very, very, very personal because it's connected to your personal identity and like how you see yourself and how others see you, and then it's sort of the where those two collide. So in that way, it's a very personal topic. So yeah, I was actually just telling a couple of friends of mine, a couple close friends of mine, I was like, and this after like years of not really going as hard in licensing as I had been going before, right? Like totally not being in it like I was, you know, back, you know, 8 years ago or whatnot. I said, I think I'm finally, like, I think my identity shift is finally happening where I don't view myself as this person anymore. I still am a licensed artist, but I don't like identify as like primarily this is what I do. No, that is not like one of my major factors anymore. I'm still super connected to doing greeting cards, but in terms of licensing, I'm not super there at all. I'm not even not super there. It's different. Oh, this is coming out awesome. I like it. We all have like 20 different careers, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes those transitions are really difficult for people to make, and sometimes you can't wait to make them. For instance, back when it was like maybe 2009, I was working a full-time job as a designer, an illustrator. My title was senior graphic designer and illustrator anyway. It's just to let you know what I was doing. I was definitely doing both, but integrating illustration into the design when I could and when it made sense. I worked on a lot of marketing and advertising campaigns, so it did come in quite a bit, but you know, when you're doing design, like when you work in like a corporate-ish type of environment, not that it was really corporate-ish, but usually the default is that you're doing design and then illustration is sort of the extra in a way. Even though we really did work it in very well to my workflow, but still, this is coming out cool. I like it. Okay, what's my point? My point is that back then, I had a full-time job. I also had a bunch of other jobs that I did at the same time. I was doing children's illustration. I was still doing pet portraiture, and I was starting to do licensing. And so I had all these other identities that I was sort of like untethering from. So you have these phases of connection, and then you have these phases of untethering. And I think it's like anything else in life, really, you know, where you sometimes have these phases. And it's really no different with the, you know, niches of your creative career and bouncing around from, and I don't mean to, because that makes it sound like, you know, superficial, and it's not, because, you know, whenever we go into these things and then you go hard and then it's like all or nothing. And that's, I mean, honestly, like, it's kind of important to have an attitude like that if you want to meet your own version of success. You know, you have to commit, and you have to be like committed. Commit and be committed. So commit outwardly and be super committed inwardly in order to move the needle for yourself, and you make it happen, and you will. But, you know, unless that complete commitment is there, it doesn't always happen. Anyway, my thought was that It's always like your own identity and what you want to accomplish changes constantly. So what's the next mountain you're going to climb? Or on the opposite side of the coin, what if something happens, not through you wanting to change, but things happen that kind of force a change for you? That can happen too. It's a big spectrum, really. But you know, all these are feelings that are very personal and like, you know, they affect your emotional state and stuff. So you really have to sort of do the inner work to come to terms with things sometimes when you need to, and then just figure out the identity shifts and what it means to you, and you know, who you feel like you are, how all that works. So and it's a big ongoing and never-ending cycle, really. In my email newsletter, I explained my own process with regards to doing more generalized print-on-demand content, which is what people, I felt, wanted, you know. And so when you're a sharer and then people want certain things, once you open the door, you know, you want to give people what they want, and then sometimes you turn around and, you know, what you initially were interested in delivering turns out, or like the world you were sort of in changes, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't think I like this anymore, or you know, this isn't how I identify myself. Anyway, that's probably all I need to say. If you're more interested in that topic, I will put a link to another word of the day video. This is not word of the day anymore, it's quote of the week, but it's the same bucket. This is the evolved version of those videos, because it's basically the same thing, same format, but it's just we're going to quote of the week instead of word of the day. All right, we got our background down. So I'll put links in the description. I'll put the chaptered links so you don't have to watch the entire video. You can just watch the portion that talks about the topic that I'm discussing right now. By the way, all these videos, or as many as I can remember that I have done this to, are fully chaptered, so you can go to the place that you want, to the topic that you want, because these word of the day and quote of the week videos are very much like off the cuff, what I'm thinking about right now, what's affecting me right now. It's like a conversation with you, just me talking, but it's like just an ongoing conversation, not scripted. All right, we got to write our quote in here now. Let's get this going. I'm trying to not make these videos too long because it is a lot to edit. It can be. Let's see how wet this is. Do I need to blow dry this? I probably should. I'm going to hit this with the blow dryer real quick. We are good to go. So actually, speaking of licensing, I wanted to tell you, I don't think I've mentioned this before. My friend Nicole has a podcast called Creative Reconnect. She is a licensed artist. She's very giving and she loves community. It's been a really nice series, the podcast. I've been really into it. I wanted to let you know about it in case you wanted to listen to some creative conversation. It started out on Clubhouse. Now it's a podcast. I'm just going to go in. I got to be really careful to not take up too much space. Oh, that's very light. Maybe I can make it work for this. When I let go. Okay, I'm going to do that in a darker. This brown might be nice, actually. It's kind of just like it's kind of a cool brown. So I'm going to try layering these a little bit. I'm probably going to have to use some of the dark. When I let go. I'm going to use a little green there because I kind of wish I used green here because we have this green background, but I used purple. I'm going to use more water on this too, so we're gonna water this up a little bit because I like that these markers are actually water soluble. To me, that gives them more use. You know, there's more value in that for me because I do like to mix it up a bit. I'm going to actually use, I'm trying to clean off my marker here. I'm going to use a red-ish over here for this. There we go. And mix it, and then I'm going to clean off my tip a little bit. When I let go of what I am, red is good. Here, when I let go of what I am, I'm going to use this purple. When I let go, if you hear Matt in the background, I apologize. He's on the phone. When I let go of let's start with the red. And I'm going to change things too, because I am definitely going to use some water and potentially even some more paint. What I am. To me, what this quote says is that in order to grow, you really gotta let go. You gotta let go of your former self or of an identity that is maybe not serving you anymore. And that's really hard for people, understandably so, because we're all tied up in ego because we're human beings. And, you know, you can't really get out of that when you're a human. You can. I mean, you can be self-aware with that, and you can learn more about how you react to things so that you can do better next time, you know, or just do better moving forward. But, you know, these things are not easy and they're all part of the human condition. So, you know, we have to give ourselves grace with that because obviously, because we're human. So when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. I put what here. Oh, and you know what else I like? I like that transparent, that level of transparency with the what. I might just leave it like that because it actually speaks to the quote a lot for me. But I might have to add a little bit of something to give it a little bit more, you know, visual impact. But I do also really like that transparency. So these are working nicely over the acrylic paint. And this is Rendr paper. I'm actually going to flip this because I want to use the other. I want to hit go from a different angle. This is why it can be difficult when you're drawing on video and you don't want to flip your page around. Like, part of flipping my page around is being able to change my lines and stuff because I'm going in from a different angle. And a lot of times if you just are trying to like stay like that, then you lose the ability to do that, or you limit yourself severely. So that can be a little bit of a challenge. I'm going to add some water in here. Ooh, it's just sort of washed it away, but also gave it a nice little quality of like sun bleached quality to it, which I like. And I'm just gonna do more of that and see where that gets me. See if I can sort of wash the edges a little bit to make it look, you know, make it look like it's changing. When I let go of, what have I said this quote enough for you today? You getting tired of hearing me say it? Then when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. And I like that you become what I might be, because it leaves the door open for other change. You know, when you let go of what you are, who you identify, what, you know, what type of artist you're identifying as, you know, whatever, this decade, this month, this year, whatever. Like, you get too tied into one thing, and then what happens is you're not flexible, and you're too rigid, and you lose the opportunity to grow and change. So let's not do that. Let's try, because everything is like management and, you know, working on it. You know, we're always works in progress all the time. I do like how these are looking with the acrylic paint underneath. It's like a cool effect. So sometimes on different social media profiles, I'll change like how I describe myself as an artist. Like, I'll say hand letterer, or I'll say, you know, whatever, you know, take your pick. On my Facebook profile, I've pretty much kept it to, hi, I'm Kathy, I'm an artist. And I really think that's sort of the bottom line, is I'm an artist. And being an artist, you know, can mean so many different things, which can be too open-ended for people sometimes. But for me, it's like, I'm like a work in progress, you know what I mean? Like, I'm constantly, you know, evolving, right? Like, we all should be evolving. So I'm glad for that, and I'm glad I'm open to it, because it's not always easy, and I haven't always been open to it. You know, I find that when you're kicking and screaming, when you go kicking and screaming, you know, out of one identity and into another or whatever, can be very difficult. Okay. I become what I might be. This needs to be clearer. It's not as clear as I would like it to be. Ooh, we got to deal with the binding. Kind of challenging. I think I'm going to hit this with the purple because the purple's pretty intense. I think it's the most intense of these markers. So become I have to hit this from a different angle in order to get I think it's hard for people sometimes when they're not ready for their career to change, and it does. I think that's tough. And it doesn't always happen that way, but sometimes it does. I think that's what I was trying to say before. I'm not sure if it came out that way though. Like sometimes, you know, you're eager to have things change and they can't change for you quickly enough. And then other times things change for various reasons. Things can change. And you're like, okay. What just happened? And then you're like, okay, I have to pivot now. In a way that maybe I didn't anticipate having to in the past. Now we're going to write the name. L-A-O dash. Turn the page a little bit. T-S. E. All right. We're going to do some embellishments. Anyway, so big conversation, big talk, big thoughts here. I like that little bit of green down there. I'm gonna bring that up a little bit more. My teeny tiny little brush here. Here we go. A little bit up here. And then I'm gonna paint with my marker a little bit. I'm gonna use some of the white on the letters to highlight the actual letter forms. They're a little bit lost, which is fine. I do like the ethereal quality. I basically just want to make sure that they are readable as the letters that they are supposed to be. So that's gonna be my main MO here. And I'm gonna stick with the brush as opposed to a paint pen today. It actually would be nice to see how the paint pen is gonna work with these eddings, but I think since I'm already in this with the paint right now, I think I'll just stick with that. I might have to get another brush. I'm sort of highlighting the letter forms without painting on them. I'm just trying to use the white space in between the letters to make the actual letter forms more discernible from the background. That's what I'm doing. And if I had a smaller brush, then I could get more in there, but I don't. I think I might get one though. I'm going to do the larger dots right now to not waste the paint that's on this brush when I have to use it anyway. I'm gonna have to go back to this brush anyway, is what I'm saying. And then I'll do the more detail work in a little bit. It's a little bit wet. Like this paint is a little bit, it's a little too watery. Needs to be less watery. I'm going into the small brush though with this one. I think I need some more brushes. Does anybody else have a hard time throwing away old brushes like I do? I have a hard time doing that. I feel like I've infused myself into the brush, which is probably ridiculous, but I'm just being honest. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video and the conversation. I appreciate you so much. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be, by Lao Tzu. I hope I said his name right. Anyway, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.